I'd like to propose what I think is a different framework for explaining systemic racism. Right now, I think the current framework, I see it as two different ways, but the current framework is that there's a huge number of dimensions to the problem, and what I think people are trying to say is that people who zero in on race and say that race is kind of the prominent problem, that there's a whole position within the conservative and primarily the Republican conservative that you can't really prioritize race or privileged race as being the only issue, that you must consider all of the other options. And now that in some ways that kind of ignores the idea that race kind of seeps through most of all the other options that exist in the dimensions anyway. But I really want to take a whole different tact here. I want to actually say that I want to look at it from a systemic change point of view. And I want to say that there's a classic pattern for change. And it says that there's three walls or barriers. One is that just general inertia. The other is that you got to commit some kind of resource, money or something. And the other is that you have to, which is the biggest and most prominent one, is you have to overcome vested interest. So if you got the status quo, if you're okay with things, but you want continuous improvement, you got to break through general inertia. Committed resources, you got to do with process improvement. But you have to put a whole new process to overcome vested interest. And the idea here is that systemic change is all about building new processes, building new systems. And so the silver bullet for looking at a systemic problems is that you can't look at them that you're going to solve them with continuous improvement or process improvement programs. You're going to have to look at doing a whole new process. So let's look at our three major systems. We have our political, our economic, and our social systems, and they're occupied by democracy, capitalism, and humanism in the present package, liberal package as it's called. But what I'm saying is that they all stand and they all hold on this foundation principle of hierarchy. And the challenge behind hierarchy is that it has seeped into all of our artifacts, and it has basically dominates our cultural stories. And the kind of the dark side of hierarchy is that it can't look at it from point of view of what we would call upside down. It actually has to be a kind of pyramid where on the top, we accept the systemic principle that there's only one or a few at the top. So we're willing to allow for only a few people to be at the top. And also, but also, we develop this desire to not be at the bottom. We want to know that somebody is below us, and so hierarchy gains by having an identifiable group at the bottom. And what's more identifiable than the color of somebody's skin? So this is what is meant by systemic racism. It's inherent in the hierarchical structures. So when we talk about overcoming the vested interest in this particular issue, it means we're overcoming all of the people in the hierarchy, overcoming the systems themselves, and also changing and overcoming, if you will, the cultural stories. I mean, this is quite a big, what I call a big uh-oh as far as what we can do. Now, there is some positive issues that I can bring forward, and that is that in at least in the world of business, there's nonviolent solution patterns that can be put together to overcome vested interest. But that's a topic for another video. Thank you.